Now, Frank Lampard has been out of management since May 2023, but that could be about to change. Coventry are in advanced talks with the former Chelsea and Everton manager, and our reporter Paul Gilmore is across the whole story. All right, Paul, how close is he to getting the job?
Reasonably close, advanced talks. The crucial thing in this, Mike, is that no agreement is yet in place. So these talks are very much ongoing with a view to Frank Lampard replacing Mark Robins and becoming head coach of Coventry City. So those discussions will continue this week, of course, with live discussions. Fluid situation can change at any time. But as things stand, Frank Lampard, chosen candidate of Coventry City, and in talks with them. They do have this game live on Sky Sports this Saturday lunchtime against Sheffield United at home, a 12:30 kickoff. But of course, Doug King, the Coventry chairman, has said on record that if a managerial appointment doesn't happen by then, they do have these plans in place that will continue on a bit longer than that if necessary. But certainly as we stand here on Tuesday evening, those discussions very much ongoing.
Now, they got rid of Mark Robins, a proven manager. So is this a gamble?
It's difficult to know. We look at Frank Lampard and we look at the fact that he has been in the Championship, and when he was in the Championship, he finished in the playoff positions with Derby. He reached the playoff final, losing to Aston Villa, but we didn't get the chance to see if he was a one-season wonder, if you like, at that level, because he moved on fairly quickly to Chelsea. And as Chelsea's all-time top goal scorer, when Chelsea come calling, very difficult to criticise him for taking that job as he did at the time. But what it did do was that it propelled him into that kind of job quite early in his managerial career. We didn't get a chance to see that if he could continue building on what he had achieved in that first season at Derby. And so all of a sudden he's gone to Chelsea. What he was known for in that first spell was bringing through some of the academy graduates and giving them more Premier League experience. When you think of Reece James as the one who comes to mind, Mason Mount and a few others. Then it was a case of going to Everton. One of the things I would say Chelsea and Everton have had in common in recent years is maybe not always the most stable of clubs, because things weren't always going well on the pitch. There were a lot of challenges to deal with at Chelsea. Graham Potter found out that as well. Thomas Tuchel found out about that. So one thing we haven't really got to know yet about Frank Lampard is what he's like over that kind of sustained period. Settled club. With Coventry City, it feels settled. It feels like they've been in a good place over the last 7 years with Mark Robins, and they've been knocking on the door. What that does, though, when Coventry have been knocking on the door as they did with getting to the playoff final, is it creates this expectation for a bit more of that. They've got a taste for it, and that's where he will be under pressure to kind of keep pushing Coventry forward.
What would worry me as a Coventry fan was that win rate in his second spell at Chelsea, which was 9%.
Yeah.
So moving on from that, if he does get the job, is this the last chance saloon?
Again, it's an interesting question. I think it depends on who you ask. Certainly in English football, he might be viewed, if the Coventry job, if an agreement is reached, of course, if that job doesn't go well, it does become more difficult, because then are you like, you look at someone like Wayne Rooney, who's dropped down the divisions, and of course he's at Plymouth at the moment, but the options become more and more limited if things don't go well in the Championship. So there will be, I suppose, that pressure. One thing that's really interesting about Frank Lampard, actually, in his spell at Derby in the Championship, he used his contacts to good effect. He brought in Mason Mount, Harry Wilson and Fikayo Tomori on loan. What was interesting, actually, Coventry's head of recruitment, Dean Austin, was speaking about how complicated the loan market is just recently, actually, just a couple of weeks ago. So it'll be interesting to see if they can find common ground in how to approach the loan market, because clearly Frank Lampard is somebody who brings a lot of contacts with him as well. So you mentioned that 9% win rate at Chelsea. Again, that's another thing that people will look at. Again, those mitigating factors at Chelsea at that point were a lot more unsettled, as they appear to be at this moment in time.